Clash of Clans podcast, OG, episode 18.
Skilly beep boop beep boop skilly beep.
Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Scotty827, hanging out here with your other co-host, your other host, I should say. I don't know how, I was messed that part up. Tipdawg20, how's it going, man?
Good. I'm really excited about all these balance changes. We have a lot to talk about this episode. I know that you're excited
I
for
am.
sure.
When did this drop? Because you just sent this to me this morning, and I feel like I've been on the game a lot this week.
So it hasn't dropped yet. So I just found out about this morning and it says that it's going to happen in June, but there's not a date set as far as when the updates are going to occur. I would think that they would let players go through CWL without these balance changes, just because CWL is so important to the player base
Oh,
that they
yeah.
want them to get through CWL, used to the troops, used to the levels as they are, and then probably right after CWL ends, that is when we'll see the changes occur, most likely. But they haven't happened yet.
So this episode, then, we are going to bring you the balance update
The balance
and
changes.
talk about everything going on. So we know.
So there are balance changes all up and down the board, right? So it goes from Town Hall 10 all the way up till Town Hall 16, and the balance changes are more significant or more widespread would probably be a better word at the lower Town Hall levels. But there is one huge balance change at Town Hall 16, but that doesn't really affect you, right? So, because especially like we have
Yeah.
Town Hall 14 accounts. Sure, there are changes at Town Hall 14. They aren't huge changes. They're making things a little bit easier. They're updating. They're buffing some of the troops. They're nerfing some of the defenses. So, from our perspective at Town Hall 14, it's actually getting easier for us. Which I guess overall, is that a good or a bad thing? I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's better that Clash of Clans gets easier for some players?
I, y- you know, I don't know if I go on the side of thinking like if you can't 3-star,
Then you can't
I would,
enjoy the game?
yeah. Like, I mean, I feel like it should be something that is hard to do that, like, keep the bar raised. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
if you put it into balance where, okay, so now 60% of the players, well, and I don't know what that, if that's true. Um, but if that's what it is, that then you're kind of adapting it to the bottom. And I'm not saying the bottom is bad, but like, they wouldn't do that for chess. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I guess it would I kinda look at it as adjusting the test parameters. So, like, I know there was quite I don't know if it was a scandal or not, but years ago,
Ooh,
whenever
the dirt.
whenever national educational testing, all of a sudden students started scoring better on some of these national tests, and they found out that they just lowered the bar. They made the test easier so that students could score higher on the test. So it wasn't that we were getting smarter as a nation.
Yeah.
I don't know how
Right.
we don't want to go
Yeah.
into that, but they were lowering the difficulty of the test in order to make the students appear to be doing better, which I kind of feel like is what Supercell is doing in this case. They're lowering the bar so that more players can appear that they're doing better, which I guess goes along with their overall strategy of if we can make players feel good about themselves, then they will play this game more. And as a result, they may spend more money. Clash of Clans will be able to implement more new, cooler things. And overall, the player base is more happy because that, in essence, affects everybody.
I do, maybe too, I would say here, m- it might be that it should not be so hard at Town Hall 9 and 10 and 11 and 12.
Right.
Right? Because, like, if you're in some of the bigger matchups, like our matchups are across the board, so we're getting, you know, a
Pretty
bunch,
equal.
yeah, pretty equal, but there's a lot of different town hall levels.
Mhm.
And so if you make it so hard for a 10 to do a 10, where it should just get the higher you go up, it should be more and more difficult.
Yeah, and I think that they're constantly adjusting that bar too. Like how hard do we need to go? Like obviously the hardest the game has ever been was back in 2015, 2016, 2017 whenever Town Hall 10 and Town Hall 11 were max. Like it was almost if not impossible to 3-star at that level. But also, and granted I know there are a lot of factors that are in play here, but that was also the time period when Clash of Clans was bringing in the most money. So videos that I've done, Clash is averaging between 4 and $500 million in income per year. Well, during I think it was 2016, they brought in I think it was $1.4 billion
Holy
in
shit
that one
balls.
year. And that was the year that Town Hall 10 and Town Hall 11 were the hardest. So, granted, things are different now in 2024 than they were in 2016. But also, does that mean that the harder the puzzle is, then the more people there are that want to partake in the puzzle?
Yeah, I think there's always gonna be people who just wanna win, and then
Mhm,
there are people who wanna challenge and to be I think the people who really are good are the people who wanna be the best at what they're doing and win, right? And then you
mhm.
got people who kinda I've been watching a lot of Dance Moms.
Yeah,
So,
that was random.
um well, it's all coming back to how these moms and, it's just a crazy show, and I
Mhm.
don't know why I'm hooked on this thing.
Was that where Honey Boo Boo was introduced?
No,
Oh, okay.
no,
I've never
I
watched
don't
any of those,
think
so I
so.
wasn't sure.
No, no, no. This was like this this lifetime this woman is, this dance teacher, and she can rule. It's just this crazy show,
Mhm,
um, little summer fun. But you have you have the people who, um, will just stop at nothing to just get to the top, and they just wanna be at the top, and then you have the people who are at the top who are grinding it out
mhm.
and doing it through their hard work kinda thing, right? And so, I don't know, like, I guess the other question too is to say, well, where's the bar, right? Like, is the bar fair right now?
Right.
And, maybe we're looking at it and saying, well, maybe the bar is not where it's supposed to be in the first place.
So, question, do you think the bar should be higher for professional players, players who are competing at Clash Worlds versus your average player base?
No, I think that the beginning and the end should be able to be touched.
So, you believe that the attacks that we watch that are being streamed live from Clash of Clans, those are the attacks that we should be able to do. Like those attacks should not be harder in some way because that's the elite level of Clash of Clans.
Yeah, I think like let's say this kid goes to a Supercell event and he's backstage and all of a sudden he gets thrust out on stage and they say, "Oh, you're ready." And he goes, "I don't know. I'm not here for that." And they say, "Okay, well, now he's got his big break. He goes out there. He should be able to just pick up that iPad and kick the same asses that he did at home and win that tournament and take it home."
What if when he was at home, Supercell allowed him a way to practice at the higher level and to play at the higher level so that way when he did get to the big stage, he was already used to the higher bar that's set for those elite pro players.
So I could say I could be like, my thought is that would be awesome to have a game mode. Everybody goes in max level, right?
Mhm.
But then my second thought would be, well, like it'd be awesome to say, yes, tournament level. It's kind of like hero boosts, and all that stuff. Yeah, you could do that. But I don't know, part of it is doing it with what you have as you're upgrading too. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're
right?
so I don't know. Are you gonna
What
drop some truth bomb on me here that
No, no, I'm curious.
okay.
So what if that higher bar was available to the masses? So currently we have the bar for attacking, right? You have to be
Yeah.
able to get a 3-star by successfully using your troops, by funneling, by putting your troops up the middle or knowing how to deploy your troops in a certain way, and you can get a 3-star in a base. Well, what if there was a game mode where if you wanted Clash of Clans to be a little bit harder, you could make it a little bit harder. You could give yourself a little bit more of a challenge, and that ability was available to the entire player base, but it would definitely be in place at the highest levels for Clash Worlds. It's available to you, Scotty 827. So the question is if you could push a button and everything was 10% harder, would you push that button? Would Scotty 827 push that button?
Well, no way. I'm already having hard enough time as it is.
Well, I think that that's the average player response, right? No, like, uh,
Well, I guess, as you're saying this, I'm thinking to myself, what would be the point, I guess, if you had it? You could just go in and you could just play tournament mode and I guess in Clash Royale they have this, right? Like you go in and everybody is at a lower that you're playing or they did have it in there anyways, where you do a tournament and everybody's at like instead of being at like max level, you're at like 9, right?
mhm.
Or whatever. Um I could see it where doing a tournament mode that changes the fundamentals of troops or adds certain things to it that you would have to be good at the troops to be able to do it, and it always change,
Mhm.
right? But I don't know, part of me thinks half of the game is working with what you have. Most of the game, you are at a place with upgrading and researching that you have to make choices and, hero equipment, and you have to make these choices, and then the choices and your limitations are what make you good or not until you get to like till maxed out level and then you're kind of
Mhm.
riding on and then at that point though it kind of seems like it rides on troop AI too, like you really kind of dug in on troop AI, whereas was you're upgrading there's just different factors. So I guess I don't know if I'm answering your question.
So I have an example. So you know that there are basketball leagues out there where dads get together and they lower the goals from 10 foot down to 7 or 8 foot. And they do that purely for the enjoyment. Like they do that with the expectation that they're not going to be playing against LeBron James, right? There's no need for them to play on a 10-foot basket. For them, it's more fun to play on a 7-foot basket because they can dunk, they can do all these moves. So I wonder if that's what Supercell is doing by lowering the bar for the lower town halls. And there has been a push, for example, for the NBA to raise the height of the goal from 10 foot to 10 and a half or 11 foot. Like that's been called for in the past just because is 10 foot too easy. I mean, when LeBron James can touch the top of the backboard, literally touch the top of the backboard, is 10 foot too low for him? And I think that's the same question that we're asking. Like, once you reach a certain point, is it too easy? And the NBA did this, for example. You have the college 3-point line, and then you have the pro 3-point line. Like the pro 3-point line, I don't know the numbers, is what, 3 foot farther out than the college 3-point line. And the reason for that is because the pros are that much better. So whenever we watch the NBA, and we see them shooting from this 3-point line that's 3 or 4 foot out, farther out than the college 3-point line, are we like, oh man, I don't want to play basketball because the pros are shooting 3 foot out? I don't know.
No, that's a good analogy.
I think
Um,
it's
you think
so
it's
the problem with this is any changes that Supercell makes to this game is going to affect their income in some way, right? So Supercell's a business. They want to make it enjoyable for everybody. They have to cater to the casual player in addition to catering to the pro player. So do they make the bar higher for some players than others? And I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But what I do know is they just made it more difficult for the casual player, the 3-star at Town Hall 16. They essentially raised the bar at Town Hall 16 by
that's
some
okay.
of these balance changes. How do you feel about the balance changes and them raising the bar by
The
making
high
this one big change?
well, so the big change is the root rider nerf,
Root
right?
Rider's the biggest change. So they're getting a 50% nerf on DPS. They're also getting a nerf to their HP. It's not that much. It's not that significant. Well, it's 7%. So level 3 Root Riders evidently, I thought they were already at 6,500. No, that so they are at 7,000. They're going to be nerfed to 6,500, which I expected. I don't know if you remember, but in previous episode, I thought that 6,500 would be about right for where they need to be. But in
Yeah.
addition to the 500 HP nerf, they also did a DPS nerf of 50%. So their DPS is going from 230 to 115. That's going to kill Root Riders overnight, in my opinion. Like it will have been from 85% of
The
players
whole
using
herd.
Root Riders in Legends to 5% of players using Root Riders in Legends. Like that's how massive of a change this is going to be, in my
Well,
opinion.
we did talk about it last week that it kind of is you were saying it's kind of become the root rider show,
Hmm.
and they'll drop it down and then they'll probably buff it up again. So that I would imagine they just would want to if you have some one attack that's so overpowering that everybody abandons their specialty to go do
Right?
it,
Yep.
then yeah, that needs to be balanced out because okay, and you've kind of said that it's just too strong right now. Like I'm gonna have to do it, but I'm practicing my other armies.
Which
Um,
I've made the switch. I've already made the switch. And I'm not using Root Riders anymore, and it's going very well. And something else that's interesting that we've talked about in previous episodes is base building meta has shifted, massively shifted to combat Root Riders. Like you're
so
seeing base setup that makes no sense for anything other than to defend against mass Root Riders.
everybody's gonna have to get a new base.
At new bases and new attacks. Like people are going to have to come up with new, and there are some really strong attacks. So the attack that I'm using right now, which we talked a little bit last week, is Fireball Super Witches. And other than the first week or two where I was getting used to it, like it's performing very well. Like I think yesterday I got 6 out of 8 3-stars in my Legend League attacks. I'm at 5,300 ish, 5,400 ish cups right now, which is decently high. So I'm hitting some pretty hard bases. And granted, I think the only reason why I'm doing so well is because I'm going up against so many bases that have
Nerf.
clustered defenses in order to combat against root riders. So you're seeing one of the main tricks that base builders are using is you're seeing kind of a ring of point defenses and then clusters of core defenses in the center. So you see Archer Tower Cannon, maybe Expo out there, maybe Mortar, and then in this little pack in the center, you'll have a scatter shot, a multi Archer Tower, an Inferno Tower, and the monolith, like all kind of sitting there and clustered. And the reason for that is because if you don't funnel correctly, or maybe it's very difficult to funnel on that base, your root riders are going to go around that little cluster of defenses. And then the monolith, the multi archer tower, the inferno tower, like all of those can just slowly pick off your root riders one by one. Now, a good attacker is going to be able to combat against that really well, but that takes an extra level of skill that a lot of players haven't learned or don't have But because of that, that little ring around these clusters of defenses, all you have to do is put down your ward to do a warden walk. You get through that initial cluster, that initial line of defenses, and then shoot your fireball into that cluster, and you've wiped out a
Oh.
massive portion of that base that can do a ton of damage. So my question is, how long will the warden's fireball be solid for the meta? Because once root riders go away, base builders are going to start building differently, and then my fireball is not going to be as effective because they're not going to be clustering defenses as much.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm really seeing that in my attacks on 14.
Not now, not at 14. Just because, well, you wouldn't see it at 14 because root riders aren't available till 15.
Yeah. I wonder if, like, some of the base I wouldn't be surprised if some of the bases kinda cater to it, though, just for people dropping. Like in war, like, if a
Hmm.
15 drops down, I don't know, but that's a whole different thing that I've gotta resear dig into, the base building stuff, which
Well, and it's also something that you have to consider because you said you're going to Town Hall 15 next month. On Tal
probably, yeah.
Shiar, my Rush Town Hall 15, I had maxed out Root Riders, and I'm just about to finish maxing out Valkyries
Ooh,
for
you
the
sound
very
like me.
purpose was I was going to push the Legend League, and that's the attack that I was going to use in Legend League. Well, now, like, I have no idea what I'm gonna use in Legend League because I haven't upgraded those armies that I need to be able to do well in Legend League. We'll see. I may have
N
to I may have to do Lalo.
now
Like,
you
back in the
know
day, I
now
did
you
Lalo
know
a lot.
now you know what it feels like to be Scotty 827.
To
To
max something
finish.
out.
Yeah, to
Well,
get you right at the finish line with that troop upgrade, and here comes Supercell. Whoa, whoa, whoa! What? We're moving that. We're moving that finish line. Doesn't matter. We're
well, and
changing it
and
up.
I didn't expect them to do it so early. So I was expecting it in August,
Yeah, when I would be probably there. That's what
right?
I was expecting.
But they decided to go ahead and do it now, which is massive. I mean, that
Thank you,
it's just
Supercell.
huge.
Save me some time.
Yeah, well, and you don't have to focus on root riders. If now, granted, I may be misreading this, and maybe root riders will still do well. I mean, I don't think
Well,
so with that much of a nerf.
so Town Hall 15 then. So with 16 was the DPS. It's still going to be at Town Hall 15 too. And
But the
n-
nerf is at Town Hall 15 as well.
yeah,
All levels of root
50%.
riders are experiencing a 50% nerf to their DPS,
Yeah.
which is crazy. Now, I do think that the root rider still serves a good purpose. So it's 20 housing space. And if you have a base where you need to get through two walls, for example, it's gonna if you want to get through those two walls, you're gonna have to use two super wall breakers. And those super wall breakers are 8 housing space apiece. So that's essentially 16 housing space. And this comes back to, the
Yeah.
funneling, using as few troops as possible of funneling. Well, if you can send in a root rider and that root rider can go through those two walls, well, the super wall breaker is useless after it explodes, right? It doesn't stick
Yeah.
around and have tea with the defensive units. Like it's gone at that point. It's forever bye bye in super wall breaker heaven, or maybe the other place if it wasn't a good boy. So, but a root rider will stick around, and for essentially 4 extra troop space, you can have a very high 6,500 HP troop doing a
Yeah.
decent amount of damage. So I still
Yeah.
see the value of the root rider,
Y-
just not mass root
Yeah,
rider.
as I'm looking at this now, what we're really talking the 50% DPS, we're really talking about 100 or so DPS being reduced for each.
115 to be
Yeah.
exact.
Well, like level 1,
Oh,
it's
level one's
105.
95. Mhm.
Yeah, like so that, as we were talking about it, I was kind of thinking like it it's still processing. If you've still got a really heavy troop that just can't do as much, it might just slow the time down. I mean, like by a third,
Mhm.
right? If you've got like so on the level 3, it's 230. Now it's going to be 115 damage per second. That's gonna be about half the damage per second, but still the same. And it seemed like if you're competing on time, as we were talking about last week, that it was the tournaments were so perfect, uh, 3 stars that they were having to go on not destruction, but on the time that things are finished. That might just put it in the right range.
So the Root Rider now is much more comparable to the Golem. So the Golem's damage per second is 95. Root Rider is 115. So it's going to serve more of the purpose of a Golem. Now, granted, a Golem's hit points is a lot more. It's 9,200, but also a Golem is 30 housing space.
Yeah,
So you're essentially getting a Golem that goes through walls. Like they pretty much they've made the Root Rider
that'd be a
as
good yeah.
valid as a Golem that goes through walls, but the Root Rider itself is not an overpowered troop any longer.
Yeah, I like that. I think that seems right because you can take more of 'em in to shield. Yeah. Okay,
A-
that makes sense.
And at so the Golem is 30 housing space, the Root Rider is 20 housing space, so a third less housing space, but it also has about a third less hit points. So hit points on a Golem's 9,200,
Yeah.
hit points on a Root Rider 6,500, so almost 3,000 less. So it's a little more than, a third less hit points. So
I could s
essentially what they've done is a Golem that goes through walls is what they've done with the Root Rider.
I could see this. I could use this, like, in my as a complement to an army instead of in the full army itself, I think.
I can see the Root Rider being a specialty troop now that's used with hero dives.
Yeah.
So a
Yeah.
lot of times players
Like
will use a golem to do a hero dive, and instead of bringing a golem and a super wall breaker to get their heroes in, now because if you think about it, a golem and a super wall breaker is 38 housing space. Two root riders is 40 housing space, and they can get through the roll easy. And you can actually have 3,000, 3,500 more HP with two root riders than one single golem. Although the golem does spawn four golemites. So, I mean, that's to be considered as well. But right now, the similarity between the golem and the root rider is amazingly close. Like,
yeah.
amazingly close.
See, and I could see this as I'm kinda looking at the list here. I could really see it going, "You know what? Instead of taking in my P.E.K.K.A, I'm gonna take in 2 riders." You know what I mean, for my funnel? Like, kind of more of
Mhm.
a a golem that's going somewhere.
Well, so the only problem with that
Oh,
is the P.E.K.K.A has 7,700 hit points at max. Root Rider has 6,500 hit points. So essentially, for that extra 5 troop space, because the P.E.K.K.A has 25 troop space versus 20 troop space with the Root Rider, you're getting a little extra hit points for those extra 5 troop space. But the big difference is a P.E.K.K.A has 810 damage per second.
y
810 versus 115.
yeah, I could use it as, like, on my Warden walk or, to on my funnel to be so I kinda use the P.E.K.K.A a lot as, like, a shield that it's a guaranteed I know it's gonna get pretty far, on this and be a for sure, like, funnel. So I could see just taking it, um, because the packet doesn't go inward.
Right?
So I could see
That's a
I
good point. Yeah,
so
where the
I
root rider will go into the base when a P.E.K.K.A might go around a base. It's easier to funnel a root rider than it is a P.E.K.K.A since they
yeah,
target defenses.
and I might not need that 20 I think I mean, I have no idea, right? I got a ways to go, but I could just see it. There's some problems that I'm having in choosing things that are either gonna get stuck on a wall, um, or not give me enough, uh, clearing, right?
Enough
Like,
value.
yeah, like, I've been experimenting with those funneling troops and changing it up, and I could I think about like, oh, maybe I should just do a golem, but they're not gonna get anywhere. They're just gonna
right?
they're gonna be a full shield, um, yada yada. So I could see that. Well,
The one thing that I'm really excited about though is this will open up the meta. Now, granted, you're still going to see lots of Lalo. Lalo has been the pros attack of choice. It's also the most difficult to master at any level. But for instance, the miner has 152 damage per second. So now the Root Rider has lower DPS than the 6 housing space miner, and the miner goes under walls. Like, it, granted, there's a benefit to being able to go through walls and knock them down. But if you don't need to worry about the walls and you can go under them, well, the miner at 6 housing space would actually be more beneficial than using a root rider in this case because one miner has 1,400 hit points. So if you use 4 of them, that's what, 5,000 hit points. So I think it really depends, but we're going to see an opening up of what types of attacks people are wanting to use.
my miners are so underleveled. I had no idea. I had no idea they added that many levels to the miner.
Hmm. Level 10 is max right now.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I I was very surprised by some of my troops because I'm working on research heavily, and my wall break. No wonder I'm having problems with certain things. It's like, oh, okay. So
So there is a pretty big buff with this update that affects you and affects me in a very direct way. And that is super bowlers, well, bowlers, but in essence, super bowlers because they're connected. Bowlers are receiving a 6% DPS increase and a 6% HP increase at Town Hall 14. And
and
then at Town Hall 15, they're receiving a 3% HP increase, which means they're going to be more beneficial to you. So last
and
just a tad bit longer.
and the witch.
And the witch, correct. So super
So
witches at Town Hall 15 will be more powerful as well.
all right. To recap here, we'll go through what we've talked about so far.
Hmm.
Town Hall 16, nerf to the uh
Root
nerf
Rider.
nerf rider, nerf herder.
Nerf burgers.
Town Hall 15, uh, nerf herders are getting a reduction, and then increase to bowlers, increase to witches, 3% increase to bowlers, 4% increase HP increase to witches. The DP,
And then the damage
go for it,
from the DPH from the Eagle and Inferno towers are both going to be reduced as well
and that's it, right?
at Town Hall 15. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Town Hall 15. That's what I'm seeing. So, um, Inferno's are going to be a little bit less strong. Eagle's going to be a little bit less strong at Town Hall 15. Um, okay. So that brings us to our Town Hall 14, where I'm
Hmm.
currently. So we're getting a 6% DPS increase on the bowlers and a 6% HP increase on the bowlers.
Hmm.
The golem is getting a 1%
I don't
HP,
understand that one. A 1% increase on the
a
golem
100.
goes from 8,400 to 8,500. I guess they have their
It must
reasons
be
for doing
fine
that.
tuning. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Who knows?
Uh, Town Hall 14, the HP is reduced on wizard towers by 3%, which is 100.
Hmm.
Um, DPH on the 11% damage reduction on the eagle. Ooh, that's going to be hard for defenses. Damage per second is reduced on inferno towers by on level 8 by 20%, which is
Hmm.
and DPS reduced on level 8 is
So one of those is multi, and one of those is single. So
oh, I see. I see.
the
So
multi is going down by 20%. So they're giving a bigger nerfs to the multi targeting Inferno than the single targeting Inferno.
and a 5% single reduction. Okay. The damage per second on the town hall. Death damage is being reduced by huge amounts.
Mhm.
30% at level 1, 25% at level 2, 20% at level 3, and 10% at level 4. Damage per second, 8% at level 1, 6% at level 2, 4% at level 3, 2% at level 4. Wow, that is a huge change, isn't it?
Pretty
When you
big. I don't know how much of an influence it'll have, but I mean, it goes back to that bar setting. Like, they're just making it easier for players to attack at Town Hall 14. I don't know that this will increase the triple rate that much, but it is interesting.
Yeah, and then you've got so the damage per second is reduced on the archer towers by just a little bit, which is 3, which damage per second is reduced on the level 9 expo by 3%. Wow, so there must be some really fine tuning here.
Yeah, and then there are quite a few nerfs at the lower levels. So Town Hall 13, 12, 11, and 10 have received some pretty significant nerfs as well. Like the DPS on the Inferno Tower at Town Hall 13 is reduced by 24%. Like, and if you think
Wow.
about it, most of the player base is at 12 and 13. Like, that's where most players are
Yeah.
at. And I think we're going back to they're just wanting to make it a little bit easier for those players so that way they enjoy the game a little bit more.
Well, I'm looking at this and thinking about it. Man, the center of the base is going to be a lot less powerful overall.
Mhm.
Going in there trying to I'm just thinking like in my
For Super
attacks
Bowlers.
where I'm running out of steam or where I'm getting the hit the most when I'm getting my Super Bowlers into the center, there's kind of like that outer ring threshold.
Mhm.
I think I'm just going to be able to power through a lot more.
Yeah, I believe so. They'll at least be able to get a couple extra hits off. Like, if they last an extra couple seconds longer, like, if they would have died at, 144, but they last until 135, well, that may be
Yeah,
enough to just push you over the edge,
that
if that's the case.
2 seconds for the healer to get on something else.
Right?
Yeah, because there's been a lot of close calls on my practicing lately where I'm just missing the queen, right?
Mhm.
To recall her out, or the bowlers just get smashed before they power through one compartment by the eagle or something.
Right?
Um,
So, are you looking forward to Masters 3 CWL and using your Super Bowlers with this? This will be the last, CWL before the nerf, unless they decide to do it in the morning, which they could. But this will be the last CWL that's a little more difficult, and then next CWL will be significantly easier.
well,
Right.
unless I go to 15, right?
Right, and there are less nerfs at Town Hall 15, but I mean, that goes back to the point that you were making earlier, which is the higher you go in Town Hall level, the harder it should get.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't want it to get harder, then stay at Town Hall 14 or stay at Town Hall 11 or stay at Town Hall 10 and enjoy that. But also, like, we're talking about the pro mode, I would really like the pro mode for competitive wars. So, like you said, once you reach max at a town hall level, so we're not going to implement pro mode or plus DPS or whatever plus HP for regular wars because we want each player to experience clash and at the levels the supercell is set. But if you're doing it competitively, which means you stop at max town hall 13 and you want to enter a tournament, well, at that point, you probably mastered Town Hall 13 to the point to where you can 3-star pretty much anything you hit out in the wild. Like, if you're just doing regular wars, like, you're not likely gonna find a base that you can't 3-star a majority of the time. But in competitive war, if you 3-star, it does need to be a little bit special. Like, you do need to be good in order to compete at that level, and for that reason, I would like to see a pro mode, and the only way that I know to implement that is with friendly wars. So competitive matches are always done with friendly war matches, and
Yeah.
if you had the option to specialize your army, to specialize a DPS increase or a HP increase that's not available in the main game mode, then that would have to be implemented with a friendly war option.
Yeah, I think I could be down with the idea of customizing friendly wars to work with constraints or add things or I would even be in favor of Supercell releasing a pro mode every month. That was like this month's pro mode. These are the troop changes and differences and so that it's not routine, that there's always change, that people have to like s- adapt and skill is not just the one attack.
Right?
If that makes sense. And it's not and I'm not saying that that's how it is right now. I mean, pro players are, probably good with whatever army, is thrown out there. But I think but I think to really be good at the game, you really, really have to understand the troops and the AI and see things, um, kind of for what they are on the board, and if things are changing, you really have to get a better picture of that. Okay, this now is increased for this war, and or we're limited by this, so that means this is going to change this in my composition and yada yada yada. Like understanding the pieces of
Right?
the board.
So if and when you go to Town Hall 15, will you continue using Super Bowlers, which Super Bowlers didn't
Oops.
receive a nerf, they after actually received a buff. Do you think you'll continue using Super Bowlers? Or do you think you might start looking at other army
Well, I was thinking about it.
compositions and learning and figuring out how to use those as well?
Well, I would like to have a couple different armies. In fact, I was trying to remember the Yeti combo, um, because I've been just running those Super Bowlers, and then as I run armies, like I kind of start with, maybe what you tell me or what somebody in the clan tells me is their composition, and then I start to morph it, and pretty soon it becomes unrecognizable. So I have to go back
Right?
to the beginning. I like the Super Bowlers. I just would like to look at a base and say, maybe I have through three really good attacks,
Mhm.
are really strong. I think the specialty thing and things like Super Bowlers is that it's a 25,000 DE commitment, right? So if I'm gonna whatever I'm if it was just regular troops, I could do different armies all the time, you know,
Mhm.
whatever it is. But because I'm using the super troops, I use them constantly. So I'm not
Which
switching between Yetis and Super Bowlers, and I've just been running Super Bowlers. So
which was the nice thing about Root Riders, because Root Riders were not a super troop, so you didn't have to boost anything in order to use them. But an attack that I really think would be good for you, if you wanna consider it, would
yeah.
be Hydra, especially going into Town Hall 15, the ending stages of Town Hall 14.
But is there
Whenever
air?
when yeah, and it is air, and it would be
I can't
great
do
to
that.
have one attack that's air based and one attack that's ground based, because you're going to have those bases. They're going to be more acclimated and more built for ground armies, and you're going to have those bases that are more built for air armies. So, for example, at Town Hall 14, when Hydra was the meta, that's what almost everybody used. Well, all the expos were pointing up, all the air defenses were buried somehow to try to prevent that. The tornado trap was in a place to try to prevent the blimp from getting to the town hall, so that way, you couldn't use a clone spell. The town hall was often close to the center on its own. Root riders come in and everything changes. Air or expos go to ground, for example.
Yeah.
Air defenses move outward because they're not near as important. You want them to be behind the defenses, or I'm sorry, in front of the defenses that can shoot ground troops. So you can look at the base and start to idea it a little better and say, yeah, like this really makes sense. I can get to three air defenses super easily. So why would I not do air? And all the expos are on ground. So why would I not do an air attack on the space? And I really think that Hydra would suit you very well.
I used to run air a lot back in the day, like for a long time, and then I can't remember. It was like TH 9 and 10, maybe like a little bit 11.
Mhm.
I'm so far behind on my research for the air. Like I can't even donate the max balloons right now in clan because mine are like 3 under level.
Yeah.
My hound is like I can't even donate the max hound. So I'm really far behind on air because of the ground. Um,
It might be something to consider. So what you would need would be loons, dragons, and dragon riders. You wouldn't have to worry about hounds with a Hydra attack. And then, of course, you would need rage and freeze. Those would be the two spells that you would really need. And if your dragons and dragon riders and balloons are anywhere close to max, might be something to work on over this next month to get prepared for 10 all 15.
yeah, you know what? I With something like that, my dragons are going to be maxed. My electro dragons are going to be maxed out for TH14, and then I got to do my balloons and my dragon rider, but those are on the list anyway. So that's only a couple levels.
Hmm.
I might because I'm running against a lot of these bases now. Um, this week out in the wild and in war, anti flame flinger bases,
Hmm.
and so I've just been running that flame flinger like nothing else. And then I come into the wars with these anti flame flinger things, and I'm just so used to what I'm doing that I I I just wanna run what I'm running,
Right.
and
Which is
my
typical.
yeah, which is typical, and so, then I have a hard time changing it up,
Hmm.
and so now, in the last couple days, I think my army, the one that I'm running, I can basically switch between either a flame flinger or, uh, a log roller. Like, if I go into, and I have one of each, one in the
Hmm.
CC, um, I can go into a base and either funnel it differently. I I think my combination is gonna work, so I'm practicing, um,
Well,
doing that.
also something to remember is as you learn new strategies, you grow as a player. So, for instance, right now in Town Hall 16, I'm running Fireball Super Witches.
Yeah.
Now, I have not run Super Witches in years, but at Town Hall 12 and Town Hall 13 years ago, I actually did competitive Town Hall 12, and that's pretty much the sole army that I use was Super Witches. And I was able to gain that ability to learn Super Witch pathing because Super Witch pathing is different than Super Bowler pathing, for example, because as we have talked about, Super Bowler bounces mean that buildings are going to be destroyed that are unreachable by super witches. So you have to consider that whenever you're bringing your super bowlers versus super witches into attack. But I learned the super witch attack at Town Hall 12. Now, granted, I haven't used it in years, but I kept it up on the shelf. I'm able to take it down, blow it off, dust it off, blow the witches,
Yeah.
and
Well, the
then
witches
and then use it at Town Hall
well, hey,
16.
baby.
You're
Yeah.
so if you can once you don't even have to master it. Once you get pretty good at a strategy, at that point, it's really good to learn another strategy, remembering that you're always going to have those abilities in the back of your mind
Yeah.
rather than forcing super bowlers at Town Hall 15 if that's really not what's working for you. You can still use super bowlers, but you're going to recognize the bases where you're going to look at it in CWL and you're going to be like,
Yeah.
holy cow, super bowlers would totally smash this base. Well, let me use super bowlers even though I've been running Hydra for the past month.
Yeah, and I have a plan for that, actually, and that was one of the things, is I'm gonna use my quick train armies,
Mhm.
and I've been u and I'm probably just everybody else is probably doing this just right, but to have a master army of each of the kinds,
I do the same thing.
and I what I've been doing with it is trying variations in it, and so you can just look down my quick train and it's just warped. It's like you have this one and then it's a variation and da da da. But like earlier I mentioned I want to do the Yeti again and I can't remember the combination for it. Like what was the original starting.
Mhm.
And so what I need to do is have the army of each of the things that I'm really good at or getting good at and keep it there and not distort it over time.
In your tool belt.
Yeah, yeah, keep it there like, okay, here is the list. If I wanna do variations, here are a couple slots for that,
Mhm.
but, like, have my Super Bowler ready to go because if I don't use something for a while, um, a month, 2 months even, like, I forget, "Oh, yeah, what was it that I paired with it? I can't quite remember. Oh, but this was working really good for me." But I've been learning so much about these particulars, right? Like the funneling and hero AI and stuff like that, that I'm gonna look at those attacks when I go back to them different, um, now, but if I just have that reminder there.
Yeah, and I think you'll be able to pick it up. So, for example, in my quick train, I have Super Witches, I have Root Rider Spam, I have Zap Lelo, I have Queen Charge Hybrid, and I have Super Bowler Smash. Like those are my quick train armies
Oh,
because
that's
those are
cool.
armies that I've kind of used in the past and I might go back to, and they just kind of sit there for a while. And I've kind of learned these attacks. And so now, and I'm not saying that I'm a good player, but now when
Oh,
I
you're a good
come
player.
across a base, I can
Absolutely.
look at the base and be like, oh man, I have this in my tool belt. Well, let me use this attack.
Yeah.
Let me do a few FCs first to kind of work out the rust. Spray some WD-40 on my elbows,
Yeah.
and then I can go with it because I've learned it.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily that I'm a good player. It's just I've been playing for a long time and I've tried to learn as many different strategies as possible so that when I do get to a certain level and I come across a base, I can see certain attack strategies that would work on that specific base.
Yeah, and, like, these wars that we're seeing and, like, the bases I'm running across in the wild that are very anti-flame flinger, like, I just running across more and more that I'm trying to look for a place to put it down, Where am I
Mhm.
gonna um, just to have those different combinations, different, approaches ready to go for war. "Oh, you know what? I'm not gonna look for the base but here's the base I wanna hit because I think I can do it." Um, Even though it's anti-flame flinger,
Mhm.
right? Because like, everything else works. So,
You know
yeah.
the one troop that I'm really disappointed
What's
is
that?
no longer in the game anymore is the barbarian kicker. They took it out.
Yeah, he was nice.
He was super nice. So I'm running a Yeti instead, but it's just not the same. Like it with a barbarian kicker, you could take out a mortar and then just let your flame flinger run. But with the Yeti mites might take out the mortar, might not. So you really have to be more strategic in how you put it down. With the barbarian kicker, you just kick that mortar into the next universe, and then bam, you were good. So I'm hoping that they bring it back eventually, at least.
I hope so too, at least in some form. And, we didn't even talk about the fact that we're in a new, season, the Wild
Oh, right, right.
West,
The
which
Western
is
theme.
which is pretty cool.
So I put out a video yesterday, and then I also noticed at the same time you said the exact same thing in chat, but the warden 100% reminds me of Doc
Yeah. Oh, Back to the Future?
in Back to the Future 3. 100% reminds me of Doc.
I'm this might be one where I'm buying the
By
skins.
all the skins.
Yeah, because the queen looks pretty cool with her guns. The c the horse or the king is riding a pony,
Mhm.
which is "Gonna ride that
Interesting.
donkey pony. Ride that donkey, donkey, can ride the donkey." Um, so I don't know, there's this one excites me. Um, what am I missing on the new season? Should we finish this and then talk about the new season?
Yeah, we can talk about the new season now if you want.
Okay.
The one thing that I find interesting about it is it kind of appears, and I don't know if they're doing this on purpose or not, it kind of appears as if they're going with certain popular movie themes
Ooh.
without actually recognizing the movie or the franchise. So, for example, the Egyptian theme that was in March, like
Stargate.
100% that looked like Stargate.
Yep.
So, if you were a
Awesome.
massive fan of Stargate, you of course would have bought all of the skins because it's 100% Stargate. Like, amazing.
Yeah.
They even had the portal in the video introducing the season, like it was Stargate. This one to me is 100% Back to the Future number 3. So if you're a big fan of Back to the Future, such as yourself, then you're probably going to buy the skin. So I'm excited to see it's almost like whenever you go to the store and you see Honey Nut Cheerios, and then you have Bunny Butt Cheerios below it. So it's not Honey Nut
You know
Cheerios, but Bunny Butt Cheerios are almost just as good as Honey Nut Cheerios, you know?
you know, and and maybe here, maybe another way to look at it, because I think they're doing it in such a good way and combining things that it's like paying homage. Like, not ripping off, but, like, paying homage.
Right.
Like, bringing that kind of fun into it, I
I'm just waiting
guess.
for Star Trek. I'm
Star Trek.
waiting for the RC to have a visor. I'm waiting for the king to be bald with maybe white hair around his head. I'm waiting for the queen to wear this, counselor's
Oh,
outfit, like purple outfit, you know, like Counselor Troy.
yeah.
I'm waiting for the warden to maybe have a beard like Riker. Maybe he will have number 1 as his nickname. Like, I'm waiting for that. Or maybe they'll have a Worf.
You know, this brings me to an idea. Like, I don't know why I said it like that, like I'd been thinking about this for a while, but I just thought about what you're saying this. Imagine if you could then like, it was a Star Trek one, and then you could buy add-ons for, like, spells. So, the recall spell, you could get the
Ugh,
skin for, like,
right?
transporter,
Mhm.
something like that. I
As long as it didn't change the ability,
Yeah,
I
it
would be
wouldn't
okay
change the
with that.
ability, it would just change I mean, you
The
could do that
look.
with a lot of the that'd
So
be
on the
kind of a
spell, you could have a tricorder down there in the corner almost, or something that looks like a tricorder, or
or, like
something similar.
no, like, on the recall spell, like, when you beam her out, it does the Star Trek beam out,
Mm,
like, the transporter, like,
I would love that. That would be super cool.
that'd be really cool. They should license with some of these. Like,
So
imagine Star Trek
they would change
or
the
Star Wars, I
effects.
mean.
So whenever you put down the recall spell on the map, you would see these beams that go straight up out of the map, almost look like they're, being beamed up Scotty out off the map. Like, that would be cool, and I
Yeah.
don't think that that would have to be licensed either. They're just changing the animation of the recall spell.
It would be cool to add on to those spells, like a skin layer, like
Mhm.
a healing or like a rage, you could get like a disco party
Right?
rage add-on. So like when you do that, I don't want to say like a disco ball drops from the top there, but like confetti goes or something. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Or like uh you could do like a Halloween nightmare overgrowth where it's like spooky.
Darker colors.
Yeah, darker
I
colors.
like that. Yeah, I like that a lot, and I think so the complaint might be, well, it will affect attacking, but if
Who
you're the
cares?
player that's buying the skin for the spell, you're gonna know what you're putting down. Like, you
Yeah,
know what you bought, so and it wouldn't affect the
it's just kind of
defender at
like the
all.
scenery.
It would just look different,
Yeah, it just would look different. Maybe didn't have to work in war, you know what I mean? But like that's I think that's one untapped because you're always using spells. So it
right?
wouldn't have to add on to like a troop skin, but
Spell skins. I
spell
love that
skins.
idea. I love that idea. That would be amazing.
That's a great idea.
Absolutely amazing.
Um I could just think of so many. Um Town Hall 12. What else from the season? Um, I did watch your, last week's videos on the strategic rush and to not or to max out the bases, and you didn't help me at all.
The top. So I did 2 videos. One of them was top 10 reasons why strategic rushing is better than maxing, and then I did top 10 reasons why maxing is better strategic rushing.
You
And
didn't help me at all.
so essentially
It
what
was
it
like
comes
being
down
in my
to
brain.
essentially what it comes down to is experience. Like
Yeah,
that's the main difference between the 2. And the point that I made with strategic rushing is it's faster, 100%. It's faster. You will get to the top more quickly. You will experience top level gameplay more quickly if you strategic rush. That is a fact. You can argue against that or not. And if you max, you can get the benefit possibly of learning strategies in an easier environment. You can learn different army compositions. So, for instance, Super Witches, and I maxed my first time through. So I learned Super Witches at Town Hall 12. Like I learned them because I was
yeah,
there for a while, like 6, 7 months.
yeah.
So as I'm learning Super Witches, sure, that's not a skill that I used after I left, Town Hall 13. It's been dormant for a while, but now Super Witches are back and I'm able to dust off that skill and that ability because I took the time to learn it whenever I was maxing. When if I was strategic rushing, I probably would have never bothered to learn Super Witches because Town Hall 13 was the max at the time. I would have probably jumped right into hybrid. The ability to do hybrid is super important as well. But taking the time to learn each attack at each town hall level, will that be valuable in the future? And then also the experience, like jumping straight into Town Hall 16 as a strategic rush base, it's not the
Yeah.
greatest experience, especially when you have low level defenses and you're attacking in the wild. Like it's not the greatest experience when if you have max troops while you're maxing, then it can be a good experience because you're hitting town hall levels that's equal to yours.
It
So
w
it all comes down to experience and what experience do you want as a player?
They were good videos because I think if you're debating what you should do, especially, it's a really good breakdown of pros and cons.
Mhm.
And it was like one played after the other one. And so it was like the angels sitting on your shoulders, like the devil over here, the devil, this one over
Yep.
here. And I just kept going, yeah, I mean, well, that's kind of how well, yeah, well, maybe not. Maybe this is, and so every day I've been like, dri-
What do you want? So I think up to this point, we've had this discussion. You've wanted to max out Town Hall 14 a little bit, but then more recently, you're like, nope, I want to go ahead and strategic rush up to Town Hall 15. I know I'm not max, but my lab's, almost done. I feel like it's time to go up to Town Hall 15. Like at Town Hall 15, do you think you're going to feel the same way and stay at Town Hall 15 for a while?
I will stay at Town Hall 15 until 17 comes out at least.
So that means you'll be at Town Hall 15 for a good 7 or 8 months then, if that's the
Yeah.
case. If they release Town Hall
So
17 in December like they did last year.
here's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm gonna, if I wait, it'll be only one more month. Um, what my plan is to really follow the research. I know I'm behind on like a few things in research, but some
Mhm.
of the things I'm just not using. Right. So like I know my miners are behind. Am I gonna wait on a miner to upgrade? No. It's more like, are you using it? Am I donating it? Max it out.
Right?
What's the possibilities, right? So like my only problem with it, and the reason I think, I could just stay there and do all that is that the books of fighting, I'm starting to all my big upgrades are maxed out
Mhm.
mostly. So I have few little things to get up and maybe I'll have a few more books to do, but of pretty much everything I use, it's maxed out and I want to make sure all my troops are donation level, get that at least. Um but if I'm sitting on 2 books of fighting and they're going to go for a 6-day upgrade, I don't wanna do that. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm
Right.
keeping the books for the long upgrades, I'm working on the shorter upgrades, in the meantime to get everything, 1 below max level, and that's kinda how I'm doing with my defenses too now, is, get everything 1 below max level, and then use books of, building.
So I
And
think again, it comes down to your experience. So as you said, like minors at Town Hall 15, like I do see them used from time to time, but typically it's in a very high level attack. So Queen Charge minors or Queen Charge hybrid is a very powerful attack, but you have to be able to queen charge. And we talked in a previous episode how queen charging can be difficult. Like it's a skill that takes time to master. So I would agree. Minors at Tunnel 15 are not important. I would not worry
yeah.
about having your minors anywhere close to max before you upgrade Tunnel 15. But I would say that it would be very useful to have some type of dragon army ready to go whenever you hit Town Hall 15. And if you're 3 levels below, on
No,
some of the dragon army.
I'm just I'll have my Electro Dragon and Dragon maxed as soon as I get a my research is free.
What about dragon riders and loons?
My loons need to go up a couple levels, and my dragon riders need to go up
What are your dragon riders at right now?
1.
So, max I think is level 5,
They might be at
4
2.
level 4. So I would I would almost consider getting dragon riders at least up to, level I think they're level 3 at Town Hall 14. Level 2 at Town Hall 14 probably, and
Yeah,
then
I think it
level
is
3 at Town Hall 15. I would consider upgrading dragon riders and then getting your loons to max at Town Hall 14, and if that's gonna take you an extra month,
No,
I
that
would say
shouldn't take me too long.
the experience of having Hydra as an option for your attack would be worth getting a little less efficiency on a book of fighting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is it doesn't make sense for me. I might as well go to 15 because it's gonna take me, like, when I get there to do the research lab, to do all this stuff, to have those little ones going,
Mhm.
to finish up. But so once the dragons are done, um, because I have 2 books of fighting, I'm gonna work on the dragon riders in the air to get them all up to donation level. Um, and then I mean, I couldn't imagine. I I got so much stuff done this month that I thought it was
Mhm.
gonna be 3 months before I could even go up. I think by the end of this month, um, I could I could go
You can
up
still do it. Yep.
yeah, I could go up no problem and have everything like my army is done. The stuff I use is all
Mhm.
maxed out and more. So, I just don't wanna be like, I'm hitting the point with the really long upgrades, and I don't know, I feel like there's gonna be a point where it's just better to go sit at 15 and upgrade
Yeah.
than it is to, um,
Stay at 14.
stay at 14 because of the pets and the
Right.
research, and so
Right.
that's guiding me. I might just stay 1 more month just to really gut it out and try to bring everything up as much as humanly possible, but I've been doing a lot of work.
Mhm.
I got a lot of levels onto my king this month, bunch of levels on my, RC, so, things are good that way, but, I every day it is a struggle. I think about it all the time. I stare at my base and go, "Am I gonna go up? Am I gonna do it? Is it next CWL? Is it next CWL?" Um, but
So there are 3 skill expressions that I really feel like you're ready to learn and you need to learn them. And that's a blizzard, a super archer blimp, and a super minion blimp. I think you learning how to be able
Mhm.
to those will open up a lot of
Okay.
possibilities with your attacks.
All right, let me write this down.
Yeah,
It is. This is my instructions to become a master.
and we're
Okay.
gonna have to practice those together because it takes base ID, it takes practice, it takes a little bit of skill to be able to know where to land, like all of that. But the first one's a blizzard, and you've seen me do blizzards because I do blizzards quite a bit on my Town Hall 14. That's where you typically will send in a hound or a few loons with a blimp, land the blimp in a certain location with super wizards in it. You invis those super wizards, you rage them, and then they just take out a huge chunk of the base.
Okay.
That's a blizzard. A super archer blimp, I haven't done as much of, but Chewy will do a super
I've
archer blimp a decent amount. And that's same entry. So you're going to
I've
have
seen that. I like that.
a hound. I think actually Max has done super archer blimps, but you enter the base with a hound or loons. You have super archers in your blimp. You double clone them, rage and invis, and they just take out a huge chunk of the base. And then the last one, which is sometimes done with Hydra, is the super minion blimp. That's where you start your dragons, you send the blimp in over the top, you tome the blimp in, you land the blimp, and then you invis, rage, and double clone or single clone the
Jesus
minions,
Christ.
and they just take out a huge core of
That
the
sounds
base.
like they're having a party in there.
Mhm. But I think that knowing those 3 skill expressions will help with your base ID and
I'll
will
try s
help take you to the next level of attacking.
I'll start working on those. Um, we should finish up the, rest of the town hall balance changes, um, before we wrap up. We
There's
did
not a lot, like, it I mean, it's some pretty significant changes, but
it's
I don't
about the
really think it's gonna
same
affect many people.
as it kinda seems like it's pretty much the same generally across the board, like, with Inferno Towers being reduced, um, a little bit of reduction on defenses at Town Hall 10, um, an increase to bowlers. Town Hall level 11, or sorry, Town Hall 10 doesn't get any Inferno, but Town Hall 11 gets Inferno reduction and a little bit of Expo reduction, Eagle reduction. Town Hall 11 gets an increase in hogs by 4%, a buff to the bowlers, a
Mhm,
10% increase to HP, a little tiny 2% to the uh, Valkyrie, a 1% again to the uh,
to the golem.
Golem,
Yeah.
and a 7% HP increase to the witches, 3% DPS. 12 is it basically the same.
Mhm.
Basically the same. So hogs kind of looks like if you just kind of look at this, it kind of looks like an old school army. Hog, uh, bowler, Valkyrie, golem, witch
Mhm.
getting the buff. So maybe those are the things going to be coming back.
Yeah, the one thing that this is doing is it's making it less viable for competitive play. So, I have a Max Town Hall 11 right now. It's named Tipdawg 11. It may have to be because the reason that I keep those town halls at max is so that if I ever wanna get into competitive play one day,
Yeah.
then I'll have a max account that's ready and I can enter that competition, whatever it is. Well, at Town Hall 11, like, it used to be where in order to make it actually difficult, you were not allowed to bring a siege machine. So, no wall wrecker,
Oh,
no
yeah.
log launcher. You had to 3-star the base without the use of you could still bring a clan castle. You could still bring your clan castle troops. You just couldn't bring the actual siege machine. So, but Town Hall 11 at this point, like, they're making it so easy that it's not even viable for competitive play. So I might have to just look at just biting the bullet eventually and bringing my Town Hall 11 up, but that probably still won't be for a
Would you
while,
do a
I'd say.
name change?
Well, yeah, I'd have to. It couldn't be Town Hall 14 and his name Tip Dog 11.
You're gonna get
We'll see.
You're gonna get run out of name changes.
Yeah, so that I think it was that account. That account used to be named Board Cube.
Can you do
So
more than one name change?
yeah, yeah, it just gets more expensive with every change. So,
Oh,
like, your first name change is free, your second name change is 500 gems, your third name change is 1,000 gems, your fourth name change is 1,500 gems, I think.
wow.
So, if you wanna keep changing your name, you can, but it's gonna cost you. Or me.
Well, I'm keeping me. I'm keeping Britney too,
Britney
maybe.
Spears.
Britney Spears.
You
Um,
need a third account that's named Madonna.
Gaga. No. Yeah, I'll put one of them in there. Well, I think that is like the biggest news. Here's what it kind of does. It gets me excited. When we were talking about the root riders and everything over the past couple of weeks, it wasn't really super enticing to think about. Oh yeah, let me just go up to Town Hall 16 to run root riders,
Right?
right? Like, okay, then it's gonna take me a long time. If that's the massive attack, I got to do all the upgrading and everything like that. But um, I think these balance changes kind of open the ceiling a little bit. Even though I knew they'd, come back, but like with so much talk of it, of that just being the OP attack, it's like, well, it kind of the entry into TH15 or 16. That's not even just get to the town hall level, but it's all the research and the maxing out too of that particular OP troop.
Mhm. Right.
So, so it makes me excited. Excited for this CWL in this season. Uh, I'm I'm I haven't seen the scenery yet for the Wild West.
Oh, I haven't either, but I haven't really looked for it either, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I just saw a little bit of the YouTube video that they put out. It looked almost like the Hog Riders had something on them, but I'm not
Mhm. I know the
sure.
king was riding with the hog riders on his little wooden
Yeah,
horse.
that's hilarious. Which
Mhm.
I might end up spending some money this month on that. Um, Not sure what my rhythm in my heroes have been down so long that I coming back in and getting them put back in with their pets on them that have been down. It's kind of thrown me off. So I've been working on a bunch of practice and
Mhm.
the first time I've really had the king and the spiky ball working together. And I got it up to level 18 this week. So
Holy cow,
I
that's
got that
amazing.
that ability on it. Yeah. And especially now we got that double or that quadruple l- loot event going on for a few
Oh,
days.
right, for the bonus ores? Yeah, definitely need to take advantage of the daily bonus every day on all my accounts.
Yeah, I got like enough for one ability
Mhm.
yesterday. I'm like, holy shit, this is gonna be awesome. Um, and so I'm just taking up all my stuff to the next ability levels. And then so I've been looking a lot at the hero. So we'll have to do like a dive into some more of the hero equipment and pets
Mhm.
um next week. We talk about stuff.
Definitely.
Shout outs this week.
I wanted to shout out Chewy, thank you for opening up Angry Wookiees for us.
Yeah, shout
We
out.
we were really at kind of that point to where it's like, we have Town Hall 10s all the way up to Town Hall 16s, and in reality, we could do a 30v in Masters 3, but the Town Hall 10s and 11s, and 12s likely wouldn't have that much to attack even if we did a 30v. So it's nice that we have another clan to be able to send the Town Hall 13s and below to, which is in Crystal 3. And then, all of our 14s, 15s, and 16s can war in Masters 3 and hopefully promote. I will obviously we'll know next week whether we promote it or not or be close to it.
It's
So that'd
exciting.
be exciting. Yeah, it'd be fun. And then working our way up, obviously, the higher we go, the more difficult it's going to be. But
Yeah, but it seems like every CWL we're as a team we're better.
hmm
I mean, thinking about our wars, I mean, just even like over the last month compared to the month before, um, I think we're really fine tuning.
Yep, getting
But
better little by little. But
yeah,
still, just to emphasize, we're still a very casual
yeah,
plan.
yeah,
Like, we don't care if anybody 3 stars. If you 3-star, yay. If you don't, oh, that's okay. Nice try, you know?
yeah. It's just yeah, we're kind of just hitting our rhythm. Like people are really following the common sense. Do your best. Go where you think you can. I mean, I think we just got a lot of players that are like seasoned, and they go, I can hit that base, and that's the one I'm going to go
Mhm.
for. Um, you know, nah, it's just a good rhythm. It seems like. I hope everybody's finding that.
Yep.
Seems like that to me. So, um, I'll give a shout out to Moist who stopped by to drop off.
What was that again? What was his name?
Moist,
What? Wait, one more time?
moist.
We
I know
just pissed somebody off majorly. So
half
sorry. We love
half
you.
some people hate that word. I love it.
What was the word again?
Moist, moist. uh, he stopped by. They stopped by, I should say, to drop off Clan Capital. Just popped in and popped out. So big shout out, thank you. I really appreciate it to everybody who's been doing that GCBC and Boots and I'm missing somebody every time I get done with the podcast. I think, oh God, I missed this person. Um, and so I try to take screenshots while I'm doing this every week, but I fail. So shout out to the the clan capital is just becoming unrecognizable every time I look in there. So
And we're getting up to where new strategy is coming up. And so we definitely need to talk about that.
yeah,
And
we were gonna do a clan capital episode too.
yep. And so we need to talk about what the next level strategy is and how we're going to use it as a clan in order to get more raid medals.
Yeah, yeah, because I've been really using those for that's where I've been just pounding research. Like I haven't been buying the ore. I've been buying research potions and
Mm-hmm.
because that's the bottleneck to me. You know, anywhere in the game that you can only do one thing at one time is a bottleneck. So how can I speed through those?
Right.
Uh other than that, shout out to the house L. House shout out to all the listeners out there. Thanks for listening and keeping it clashy with us.
Welcome
Uh,
in the clan. Password is Fitz or fan in the stands.
yeah,
Welcome.
so
Stop by at any time. Just say hi. Just drop off. You're just there to drop off capital gold. You obviously not required to bring gold with you whenever you visit, but
yeah,
just say hi. We're pretty active on. I'm typically on in the mornings and evenings, but sometimes during the
yeah,
day as well.
yeah. I've been around a lot more lately, and continuing to get more and more episodes out and reconstructed. There'll be another big batch coming this week. Our clan tag, if I can again get to it here, 909 VUGYV. I think it is. Oh, maybe it's a zero.
We need to like
Nine.
put a song to it.
I know.
909
VUGYV.
VUGYV. 909 VUGYV.
We got it. You know, we could do a little ditty for like the end, like little advertisement. Um,
Are you
and
looking
we're
for a
gonna.
home for your clan base? Come to House of L.
Do you want to say hi? Are you looking for a war?
Do
We
your
like a
clanmates have you down and you need someone to cheer you up? Well,
yeah.
there's Scotty 827 in House of L,
Looking for some inappropriate humor. Come to Huntsville.
which we found out is blocked out in our clan.
You just have to be creative.
I just put letter to spell out the word that I want. It's so funny. For some reason, salacious was blocked. I don't
Yeah,
understand
I
why.
think
Like,
I think it's high, like sexually charged words, like for some reason are really censored. So
I don't even think I meant it as like sexual. Max made a comment or something. I was like, "Ooh, that was salacious." Blocked. It's like, oh
yeah,
crap.
it is. it is weird that it's that, but I wonder if it's like they just put in a thesaurus of something, or I don't know.
Probably, yeah.
Um, so, until next week, keep it classy, everybody.
Keep it clashy.
Skilly beep boop